Hey guys, Mr. Prophet here. This is Drum Major video lesson number 2. Last week we talked about leadership and the importance of that. I really hope that you had the time to go through and really try to figure out what kind of leader you are. It's going to help you a lot for over the next couple of weeks while you start figuring out your leadership style and hopefully getting the drum major position. So for this next video, we're going to be talking about the setup for being a good conductor, essentially. So first that we're going to talk about is honestly just our stance and the 5 points of alignment for posture. So let me show you. So you have your 5 points of posture alignment. It starts with your ankles, then it goes to your knees, hips, shoulders, and neck. So if your ankles aren't in line with anything else, you're going to have like a lean forward or a lean back, which standing like this really backward hurts my abs, and then forward kind of puts a strain right here. If my knees aren't bent, then I just look smaller and weaker, which is also not good. And then my hips, if it's like this, you kind of just look silly, right? And if you're like this, that's going to put a really bad strain right here and then also on your back. With your shoulders, if they're hunched forward like this, eventually your shoulders are really going to get tight and you're going to have issues with it. And then your neck, you're also going to find some problems with your neck if it's always like kind of tight and lean forward like this. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is the actual stance of it. So a lot of people like to stand in power stance. So just a nice open second. I really like this position because someone can come over, push me, and I'm not going to like fall over. Especially when you're up on the ladder or podium, it can be, depending on the weather conditions, it can get a little scary. So if you're standing here with your feet just like together in first position, then it gets a little worrisome as the wind starts to come. I'm not sure how big your ladder might be compared to others, so whenever I get a chance, I like to spread my feet out in the second and do that. For a ballad, you might want to stand in third, which, let's see, you can see my feet a little bit better. Stand in third position, which is like this with your feet, all right? This is for the nice like lyrical conducting. However, that's completely up to the discretion of the band director. So let's go ahead and pull up our Google Doc from last time and keep working on that. All right. So we just discussed the ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, and neck. This is something that I want you to try on your own. Make sure that you're not leaning too far back or everything's right. Otherwise, you're going to get some serious muscle issues along the way. As I said, your stance does depend on how much room you have. I prefer a nice open second, and for the audition, that's going to be the one that you want to go with, I'm going to assume. So next we're going to talk about your arms in relationship to like where they should be. So here I said hug a beach ball. I'm sure you've heard that before. You want to take your arms out, make sure you hug a beach ball. Let's go ahead and get this full screen. So hug a beach ball, right? So like this. So right now, this is really high on me. It's going to be different for everyone. If you think about where your sternum ends, so like where the two rib cages meet, if you put your finger right there, and then I think take a thumb and a fist just a little bit lower, that's about where your hands are going to be. So you want to hug a beach ball there. And the reason why I say hug a beach ball, notice how my elbows are out, not in like this. I don't look weak. I also don't look like I'm flying away, right? So those are two things that you want to think about. Let's see. Next, so as I said, the height of your arms, it does depend on how tall you are. It's going to look natural. Mine is a little bit lower just because I'm 6'3". However, if you are vertically challenged, like some people, it's not going to be quite the same height. So next, we're going to draw our box. Drawing the box is actually pretty important because everyone's box is going to be different. So I want to sit down for this, but remember every single time that you conduct, you should try to remain standing. So your box is going to be from where I said at the end of where your rib cage meets to right there. So this is the bottom of my box. All right. So my hands are going to be right here. All right. And then the top of your box really should never go above your collarbone. So if I'm sitting here and I'm going like this, that's too much information. So right now, my box is this big, all right? My box is honestly even smaller because I'm so big and my arms are so long. And then width, it should really never go outside of your torso. So when you're hitting like this, you're not going to go way out here and hit like this, right? So you want to make sure that it stays nice inside of your torso. So this is my box. All right, it's pretty small. However, you need to look in the mirror and see which one works best for you. Because if you're little, you're going to want a bigger box so you can actually be seen from the back. On here, I said it's important that you have an established box so your arms do not go outside of the box. That is very important because if your arms start going outside of the box, you're going to start slowing down. You're going to start being unclear with the tempo, which is really hard for the performers. Or you're just going to get really tired really fast, which that is also a major problem with conducting. The good rule of thumb, yep, your belly button, that's about where mine is. And then to the letters, I say letters as in if you're wearing a baseball jersey, where the letters go. So you say Mets go across the top. That's about where it would be. This is very important. As you conduct faster, the pattern gets smaller. I do understand that Mr. Jaggy is wanting you guys to learn about, I think he said thump conducting. I call it stop conducting. So if you hear both of those, just stay with me. For thump conducting, that's where you're just showing the ones and threes. So you got 1, 3, 1, 3 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3. That makes it a little bit easier to stay in time and you don't really obliterate your shoulders as much. Let's see. It's very important that you don't go below your box. The bottom of your box is going to be like a table. So I literally have a table right here. So when I conduct on my table, it never goes below it. And if it does, that's really bad because that means essentially when I throw my chapstick up in the air and I catch it, all right, whenever I throw something up in the air, you should be able to tell me exactly when it hits the bottom because you can see the height of it and then you know when it hits the bottom. But if it keeps going through, you can't tell me where to articulate at, right? So that's something to think about as well. You never go below the table. So painting the box. This is where you want to stand in front of the mirror and select your favorite song. This can be any song that you want. For this demonstration purpose, we're going to do High Hopes by Panic at the Disco. So first we're going to identify the time signature, which is 4/4. So let's go ahead and get that going. So if we're going to be painting the box to Panic at the Disco, you've already established your box, which I said is mine, is about right here to here, and then no wider than this. So what I'm going to be doing with my hands is painting that box with them, all right? So we're going to just start in 4/4, and we're going to do it together. Oops, let's see, here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3, 4. Up, 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3, 4. Up, 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3, 4. All right, so as you're doing that, it is important that you're taking up all the time to get there. So I'm not going like 1, 2, 3. I try to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2. Make sure it's very smooth, but when you're changing directions, it's very definite so you know where you're changing that direction. Practicing that with any song is really going to help. So now we're going to do it over 3/4, which can be a little bit more difficult because this piece is in 4/4. So try that this time. One, 2, 3, 4. So as you can see, the 3 is a little bit harder, and as you carry on, you can continue to do this over 2, over 1, in any direction. It's just important that you're making sure that you're connecting everything as you continue. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is your wrist. So flicking the wrist is very important. It's important because it gives it that finite point called the ictus about where we're going to be hitting at. You want to make sure that you don't look like a bird when you do it. I know my video is too laggy, so you might not be able to see it. Make sure you don't look like a bird. Also, you don't want to pet the cat. I'm sure you've heard that before. Don't pet the cat. Think about touching a hot stove. So if my hand is a stove, I'm just going to touch it and get away. Touch it and get away. I'm not going to sit there and go like, ah, yes, right? So you want to make sure that you get away from it as fast as you possibly can. You can try this by using an actual table that's about where the bottom of your box is, or if you have a music stand, that works best. So as you practice this, just practice tapping it and getting away, tapping it and getting away. And you want to tap it with your middle finger. So that's going to help a lot for the next video where we actually get into conducting patterns and working on making sure that looks really great. So if you practice all of this leading up to it, you're going to be ready to go for next week. I'm looking forward to hearing any responses you guys have from it. So let me know if you have any questions. My email's at the bottom. So have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you soon, hopefully.